shine things. But you are there when they are planning them. They send you to go and do some. They send you to TV, onto the TV to go and lie to the people. Again, you will say on the moral ground, that how can I continue to be part of this when we have serious problems? The problem you are seeing today, they've always been there. APC came and they make it worse. People protested because of increase in fuel price. People have been protested the increase in fuel price since 1992. When I was a little boy, I've been seeing people protesting for one thing or another, going on strike. People protest because their salary are not paid, all that stuff. But when we get to 2015, Nigeria was then dealing with what seemed to be a fresh problem at the national scale. Terrorism, Boko Haram terrorism. Nigeria has the resources to detect and discover and arrest and prosecute and jail the sponsor of terrorism in Nigeria. The corruption that has contributed hugely to the poverty, basket in Nigeria can be curtailed. No society will say they are 100% without corruption. But sane society always have what they call punitive measure. When you are caught in any means of violating the law, you go down for it. That's what you don't have in that place. So the political will to be able to do that is what was missing and still missing. Boko Haram came. It did not only legitimize, or should I say industrialize, terrorism in Nigeria. Like they actually turned the terrorism industry in Nigeria to a multi-billion dollars industry under Boko Haram. Then he added the extra, ISWAP, then added more, Fulani terrorists. So all of these things are there. The economy was already like in the tank. Boko Haram printed times 500 of the amount of money that the Central Bank of Nigeria has ever printed in its entire history in 8 years. True story. From 1970. From 1970 to 2015, the Central Bank of Nigeria gave total loan of, listen to me, total loan of 1.6 trillion naira to the federal government of Nigeria. 1970, 98, 1990, 2010, 2020, 2025. 55 years, right? Now remove 10. 45 years of Central Bank of Nigeria giving loan to the federal government of Nigeria. Different governments, even under military, where they emptied everywhere. Central Bank of Nigeria gave 1.2 trillion loan. But under Boko Haram in 80 years, the Central Bank of Nigeria printed 27.5 trillion naira and gave it to Boko Haram, $50 billion. Nigeria naira became a tissue paper, right? So all these things were existing. And Tinubu, that they told you had been preparing for 30 years to be Nigeria president. He was there too. He said all the nonsense. Those Tinubu appointed, they are Nigerians, Abi. They are aware of all of these problems. What did Tinubu do? He has now made it worse. And it's going to get worse. But they are telling people that, no. It's going to look like that, but don't worry. But who is an insider, is not convinced. Watch this part.
APC. Do you think that your position, because you resigned and you've now taken sides against the president, is no longer tenable in the APC? Because, you're pointing fingers at Wike for being in another party and working with President Tinubu, but you are in the APC and working against President Tinubu. I mean, do you think that's a bit fresh?
No, it's not. Let's explain. I'm not working against the
well,
president.
you've said many times that you are determined to ensure that he doesn't
be elected.
Yeah, he doesn't win the election. That's working against him.
No, I'm not working against him. That's his first step in building the kind of future I want to have for my generation and those behind us. You see, those in President Tinubu's generation, they set after them. They can do the rubbish they're doing. Yes, and I mean it. They can do the rubbish they do. They are comfortable with the mediocrity, but we are not. And the fact is, see, we are building. If he makes himself an obstacle in what we are building, he's over 70. He's not anymore a shareholder or a stakeholder in this country than the rest of us. Let me tell you what former President Buhari told us in 2013 when we had to pay him a visit under the leadership of Barrister Ismail Ahmed. That was at the early stage of the formation of the APC. It had not even been formed formally. You know, we knew there was going to be an all, there was going to be a progressive, and you know, with Barrister Ismail Ahmed leading the way, we had a movement called All Progressive Youth Forum. You know, most of us were people who came out of the occupied Nigeria in 2012. It wasn't because we didn't like Jonathan. It wasn't because we hated him. It was because we were desirous of a better nation and he wasn't doing the right thing. 85 or more of the people I grew up with are no longer in this country. They are all abroad. They are my mates. They are intelligent set of people. They are brilliant set of people.
And they are people who could be contributing to this country.
They were working I worked with MTN. I was a mid-level manager in MTN. They were at that level too. These are people who, they liquidated their business, sold their houses, sold their cars. At what? To be able to wash plates overseas? And we think it is okay that we have a set of people who want to sit on our yesterday, sit on our today, and steal our tomorrow. No, it's not okay. It's not.
Well, I'm impressed with
your and let me say it clearly that the very essence of progressivism is contestation of ideas and thoughts and reasoning. Even within the party itself, my membership of the party was at my instance, not at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's like he cannot determine my membership of the APC. It's not up to him. It's not his call. What he could approve was my appointment, which he approved, over 2 months or nearly about that, after the nomination by the his former spokesperson, Ajuri. So I have given him back that. But what I do with my membership of the party, it's not up to him, because I started doing that. Part of what I did led to his emergence. When a set of people in the party brought in internal. You remember, I was here a couple of times. I mean, the APC rebellion started then when we felt there were things not going right. I was a member of the committee. I was promised a land. It was taken because I refused to change my position. It is not I walked away from a good paying job to do this. It is nothing new.
Right.
I'm not saying I am doing this. I'm saying we can all decide. First thing first, let's be very intentional about the country we want to build. Then be very intentional about what our challenges are. Then be very intentional about what we can do to fix it. Then start to do it.
And are there many more people like you within the APC?
As we speak, 80% of every card-carrying member who were responsible for his election. Let me tell you, the people who voted for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu were card-carrying members of the APC who didn't want to see APC lose. They were not people who were paid.
And now?
They are aggrieved. They are inside, but they are unhappy with
it. So they're working from within against him.
They are just waiting to see the light. People waited. Let's remember that by 2014, about 24 governors had endorsed former President Jonathan, but there were a lot of people who were inside there waiting for something to happen. Out of them, there was a G7, and there was a G5 eventually. I mean, then we saw what happened. The fact that everybody is going one way, is the sign of desperation should tell us, because whoever is at the other side knows that not everything is right. And it's even more an attack on democracy, because you have governors who are supposedly doing well in their domain.
APC.
Interesting. So again, right? The guy is still taking the moral high ground on this. But if we pick from his words, right? Also, if we pick his words from, his sentences, he could then easily just maybe pick the right answer that he is not answering directly, right? But there is something there. So he said some of them are aggrieved from within. Some of them, 80% of those of them who worked for Tinubu, he himself worked with these northern groups, okay, to push Tinubu for president. And he got compensated for that. But according to him, he had a very good paying job. He actually joined because he wanted to see something different. Now, let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he became disappointed. Enough that he said they are pretending that, yeah, the problem is there. But you know what? Let's just sidestep it and explain it away down to fix the problem. So those of them who are within the APC, now, majority of them, as he said, who worked against Egbe Lantan between 2014 and 2015, I'm talking about PDP now, right? Majority of them, they stayed within. They were moving along, they were dancing along, but around, it's like they kind of like formed a ring enough that when it was time for them to move, and just like that, the rest is history today. An average Ronuku, Lagos Abobaku, or Oshogbo Alimajiri will tell you that Tinubu is a strategist. Tinubu is not a Gberejolantan. So that makes it, in fact, interesting. Right? But how do you say the mediocrity that he met within the circle of Tinubu made him realize that, okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt for that too. So he's practically telling us that, you see, this issue of coalition or no coalition, right? It is an existential threat to whatever other plans that Tinubu already plotted and perfected. And it simply means, it is going to get even bloody, or maybe bloodier. Okay? Because from what I do know, when they formed their APC, Ebekebe, in 2014, they called something, they called it merger. And they called the groups or the parties that came together, they call them the legacy parties, right? So who were there? You had the ACN led by Tinubu. You had New PDP with how many governors? I think 5 or 6 governors, PDP governors, including Rivers and was it Adamawa or so then? Those ones were led by Atiku, Saraki, and one other, anyway, New PDP guys. While Bokwari led the likes of Malamu, Adisirika, even El Rufaya from CPC. Okorocha and some other, and some other guys. Was he Ogbonayaonu? What party was Ogbonayaonu before 2014 again? Please, I can't remember, but anyway, because he was very, very prominent in the registration of APC, by the way. ANPP, CPC. No, you remember that Bokwari initially did ANPP. But as at 2010, sorry, after 2011, in fact, in 2011, he flagged CPC. If you remember, CPC, it was no longer with ANPP or BAPP then. Anyway, so Korosha came with APGA. Yeah, APGA. I think there is other one. They shall call themselves Legacy Party, right? And they formed APC, Ebekegbe. So in the group, Atifku, Kwakwansop, Bokwari, they were like the front runners in their 2014, December 2014 convention in Lagos, where Tinubu and others were actually able to mobilize funds to pay delegates. And Bokwari emerged. They actually paid delegates, if I remember very correctly, $5,000. Atiku was sharing, I think they said Atiku was sharing for $5,000. Tinubu and the gang, they were sharing $2,500 or $3,000 or something. So that was how Bokwari emerged as their candidate, meaning CPC group in APC emerged, right? So they went into that election. They used everything they could, intimidation threats, including the invitation of the Fulani terrorists. The Boko Haram were already active anyway, so they didn't need to add much. Now, Bokwari emerged. And like that, APGAO, New PDP, ACN of Tinubu, they chased them out of town, if you remember very well. They had to go and bring Tinubu back from France in 2018, a year before 2019, to go and do reconciliation. I don't know if some of you remember that. So in a nutshell, this Tinubu and his gang, they believed that they stood by the CPC Bokwari when they had power in APC. So instead of Bokwari to fulfill his promise, he decided to renege on that. But Tinubu fought. Now Tinubu is in charge, but the CPC of, Tinubu is in charge. So Tinubu says CN guys, most of them from Lagos, right? They are now the ones in charge of not just government, they are in charge of the party. Something that others like the CPC guys of Bokwari, where El Rufaya and Malamu and others belong to. So they already feel like, fish out of water, that they have been shortchanged, they have been cut off. It is only this Tinubu and his gang, ACN, that are now controlling everything, including the party. So what would then happen? They would have to move, but they won't move this time around as APC, this or no. They are proposing, we are going to make it like everybody just volunteer to come and join us. That's why he said, that is why he used Jonathan's analogy. That's part of conversation. That when it was time for them to move, they were just waiting. And once they got this, they move. I don't know if he belonged to the CPC of Bokwari, but majority of them are on the alert already. In fact, so many of them are expected to stay within the APC. Here you get, and destroy Tinubu from within. I don't know how it's going to play out, so don't get me wrong. And some are already saying this is also part of the reason why Gandola had to go. But how do you finish what you are saying? I'm listening.
Domain that are not originally APC, what has an Akwa Ibom got changing loyalty? What has Delta got changing loyalty? What impact has APC ever made in Delta or Akwa Ibom?
Do you think that's all those defections are going to have a negative impact on the APC?
It's going to have a negative impact on our existence, on democracy, if we don't stop it now.
Right. But on the APC specifically,
oh yes,
you're getting all these new people.
Oh yes, I have spent 12 years as a member of the APC, and I'll probably like to give it a shot again to run for local government chairman in Amak. But Mekalangu, the current chairman who was in PDP, has been taken to the national chairman by Wike to direct the state chairman of the APC in Abuja to register him as a member of the APC, and he told the sitting local government chairman in Amak that if he was to be re-elected, he should switch to APC, because he, Wike, will ensure that there is no national secretary for the party to sign your nomination form before INEC, knowing that it's an essential part of your nomination. This is the same thing he's telling all the other governors. This is why they are running.
So it sounds like the APC is starting to implode.
Of course, because you are bringing someone to sit on my head. I mean, the queue grows from the tail. So you are growing the queue from the head.
And a lot of your focus is on, I mean, you're talking about the undermining of democratic values.
That's it.
And you're citing the relationship between Nyesom Wike and the president.
Unholy.
And I mean, just tell us a bit more about